friends, it's Chrissy and welcome back to Stronger Every Day. So today we want to talk about kind of God's timing, right? So what does that look like for us? We're going to use a very basic example from the Bible, which is Genesis 15:6. And if you know anything about that, it talks about Sarah and Abram and when God gave him the promise of giving him a son. And that was about 25 years before they actually had a baby. And I will say this, they waited, they did better than probably most people would today. They waited 11 years and then introduced, Haggard and had a child through her, and we all know how that worked out. It didn't go well. And so then it was about 25 years from the original promise before they actually had their baby. And so I want to talk about God's timing, right? We want it now. We want it fast. We want it in a hurry. We wanted it 5 days ago. And what we have to learn is that sometimes God does give it to us instantaneous. Sometimes he gives it to us super fast. But other times we walk through processes. If you think about the 40-year journey through the wilderness, that was an 11-day trip. Why did that happen? Because they weren't ready. They weren't ready to enter the promised land. And so an 11-day trip turned into 40 years. And I can say that up until, it'll be 2 years in this June. So 2 years in June of 2024, when I was in the floor bawling out to the God that I could not keep going like this. I wanted to come home. I just couldn't keep going like this. I clearly heard him say, rise up. I love you. I want you to help people, Christians that are in your exact same place. They're struggling with depression and anxiety. Help them to understand that they're not alone, that you've walked through it, and be your story. A friend of mine recently told me you can't give a testimony without a test. And friends, that speaks volumes to me. And his struggle was different than mine. His was medical, mine was medical as well. His was a cancer, and mine was not cancer. But it spoke volumes to me. You can't give a testimony if you don't have a test first. And so, I've had people say, well, why do you think your God allowed you to walk through this for so long? He was preparing me, right? First off, foremost, we live in a broken world, and some things I did to myself, some things were done to me, some things I reaped, and some things I sowed, some things weren't any of that. However, I could not be here doing this channel with you all if I hadn't walked through what I've walked through. It's been ugly. There's been bad times. There's been people, I've said before, I would hate to have a little TV screen behind me with all of Chrissy's faults just scrolling back behind me for everybody to see. I've not been a glowing example of what a Christian should be. I've not been a glowing example of anything. However, I've been a Christian the entire time I've struggled with depression and anxiety. And there's been periods where I was running hard to God. We talked about our pastor, this has been a long time ago, he used the reference of, it's kind of like you're in a boat and you put yourself in neutral. And so what happens is you start drifting. And that was my life. Really up until 2 years ago. And I just started hitting the Bible every day, really just pretty much the only music I listen to right now is praise and worship music, just to really just get into my soul, and you kind of think about, we want it now. We wanted it five minutes ago. We wanted it before we even had to ask for it. Sometimes God's got to walk you through a problem, walk you through a process before you're ready to give your testimony. And he literally just recently told me that probably a month ago. And I thought, man, that is a beautiful saying, and a beautiful statement. And it's so true. And so waiting on God's timing, I wasn't ready from the time I got depression until 27 years. I wasn't ready to give a testimony because I hadn't gotten where I needed to be. I'm by far no means saying that I'm perfect. Friends, I struggle all the time. What I know though is that my relationship with God has never been stronger. I love just having a conversation with God throughout the day. Just a conversation random throughout the day. I find myself praying more. I find myself talking to him all day long. I find myself feeling things and thinking things that the flesh, that Chrissy would not feel and think. Doing things for others that Chrissy would not feel and think to do. And I recently got a position where it'll be like a full-time position, and I told God, I prayed about it, and I said, you know, if it's your will, then let me have this job, and if it's not, then, you know, I'll pray for the person that they give it to. And I remember thinking when they called me to say that, you know, you got it, we're gonna go forward, I remember I put in my phone so that I can always know that this is not a job. You're going to be God's hands and feet, right? And so that's how I take on everything in life. It's not a birthday party. It's not a job. It's not a fundraiser. It's not this. It's not that. I'm going out to be God's hands and feet. Does that mean I'm perfect? No. No, it doesn't. I know that people are watching. People watch Christians to see how you react in certain situations. It's always my prayer that God keeps my mouth closed, my eyes focused on him, and my mind quiet. And then when those things need to change, he allows them to change. But I don't ever want to be for somebody to say, well, I knew, you know, I don't want to be that person anymore. Am I going to make mistakes? Yes. And if that makes me a hypocrite, then I'm a hypocrite. I've said before, I truly believe with all of me that Christians are not hypocrites. They're human. We all make mistakes. We all fall short of being the perfect example. The only one that has ever been that way is Jesus. But I know that I'm running to him. It's learning that I got time off to really recoup and really strengthen that relationship. And then, you know, we started doing this channel. And sometimes when I talk with you guys, either in the comments or on Instagram, I get teary-eyed, like I'm getting teary-eyed now, and I think, that's God. Like, that's not Chrissy, that's God. You know, that's him coming through me, and I could not be more tickled. You know, I used to think he would never use someone like me to do anything anyway, because why would anyone choose me? God chose me. You know, if you look at the disciples, God didn't choose the A+ people. You know, he chose the average everyday person, and He chooses you, and he chooses me. It's something beautiful about that. But I feel like we're always in a rush, and it's hard for us to really wait on God. God's provided for my family while I've been off of work. Let me get Miss Lily. Lily says, hello. Say hey, Lily. God's provided for us, and we have lived within our means since I've been off work. But this opportunity came up, and it was something that I had looked into when I first moved here. I actually got the job and then had to turn it down for some family health issues, and it came back open. I happened to see it and just prayed, God, if it's your will, let me have it. And if it's not, then, you know, like I said, we'll pray for the person who gets it. And it's a constant reminder that it's not a job. It's me being God's hands and feet, right? And we've had to be very patient, because pen to paper, my flesh says you need a monetary value attached to you to be worthy. And, you know, you could have this if you would go back to work. And it's knowing that God hadn't released me to do that yet. And so I had a conversation with Nick when I found this job opening, and then I had many prayers with God, and knowing that he has released me to do it is a pretty awesome feeling. And I'm very excited to go on this journey. The job is similar. It's something that I've done many years, so it's not anything that I feel like I'm going in blind to, but it's a whole different, there's a whole different person here, right? There's a whole different person than like I said, anybody that I've been prior to the past 2 years. And it's always my hope that I don't go tell people that I have a YouTube channel or that I'm trying to help people who struggle with depression and anxiety, with Christians who struggle. I want you to see God through me and understand that, not me going out telling everyone. I want you to see it through me. That's always been very important to me. This channel is a lot about the imperfect me. I'm not really embarrassed anymore to tell my story. I'm not embarrassed in being very raw and vulnerable with you all and letting you know just how bad it has been. The last 2 years, coming up on 2 years in June of this year, have been the best 2 years that I can ever recall in my entire life. I'm always a little hesitant because of the 27-year history of struggling with depression and anxiety. I'm always a little hesitant to say that I'm healed. However, I don't speak it into my life that I'm not. So I really do feel like I am, though. For the first time, I feel like I can say that out loud, that I am healed. Does that mean I don't have bad days? Of course. All humans have bad days. There's days that aren't rainbows and sunshine. But through the things that we've talked about over this past year and a half, that, year and 2 months, I guess, because it was the end of November, I think, of 2022 when I started the channel. So year and 2 months, year and 3 months, however long. But it's knowing that I had to wait on God, and that's not always the most comfortable, but man, has that grown my faith tremendously, because he has provided in so many different ways. And I think I mentioned in another video, but I'll say it again here. During the Christmas season of 2023, we had money. Our bills were paid, right? Our kids had food. Our four-legged babies had food. And we were able to get Christmas presents for our immediate family. Now, Nick has a humongous family, and we weren't able to do Christmas for everybody, but we were able to do it for our immediate family. Like I said, all of our bills were paid. We have certainly been in a lot worse shape for years of our marriage. We had a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter. And there were days that I would go without a sandwich so that Nick could have a sandwich because his job was more strenuous. So we were certainly in a better place, but it was real tight. It was really tight. And it's towards the early middle of December, Nick went into work that day, and there was a $50 Christmas bonus gift card to Walmart. And within a few hours, there was an additional $50 gift card to Publix. God is with you, folks. He is with us. He hears us. He is with us. We had, in the middle of that time, when we had not a lot of funds, our heat was messing up, and we had a friend of ours who, he's now a fireman, and then he was working for a heating and air company. He came over, took a look at it, replaced something on it, and refused to pay for us to pay him. He had no idea our financial situation. We've had an issue with Nick's truck since then. He ended up having to replace the water heater. We had my car battery was not really wanting to start much, and so we had to replace it. And we had determined that it's a battery that, like, if you take it to like a parts store, they won't replace it for you because it's kind of up, not under the dash, but closer to the dash. So luckily, a friend of ours who is on one of the organizations with us is a master mechanic, and he was like, oh, I can do it. And so I told Nick, I said, well, let's pay him something, right? And so Nick came up with $40, and he had walked I don't remember the exact story. The $40 was there. And friends, God is he's always listening. He's always trying to help us. Now, I mean, I'm going to say, you know, does that mean that you're miraculously going to have a $50 gift card? No, but God hears you. He sees you. He knows we're running hard for him. He knows we're running for him. He knows our hearts, and he knows what we're wanting to do. And so remain patient, remain in the word, understand that not every day is going to be rainbows and sunshines, friends, but God is always with you. We tend to kind of step away from him. We go in neutral, but God is always with us. I wanted to just kind of leave you with that word today. This video in particular might look a smidge bit different when it's edited because I have a different computer. My computer, it does still turn on, but it was, I think it's like 10 or 12 years old. And so it took a hot minute to get anything done on it. But so we got a new computer, and it came with a new, came with a software. So it might look a little different. So just bear with me if the editing is a little off or different. Also, the lighting today, it's been cloudy for like a week straight. And so I try to sit close to the window, and then there's a window coming across from me, but sometimes the lighting isn't as perfect either. But friends, I end every video this way. It's always my heart and my hope that you hear this and that you feel this. God loves you. I love you. Your family loves you. Your friends love you. And we need you here. We'll see you in the next one, friends. Bye.